The stars had always been peaceful in the Zephyrian Confederation. For 300 years, Ambassador Kethvar had watched his people discover new worlds and new friends among the cosmos. His crystalline body caught the light from distant suns as he stood on the bridge of the diplomatic ship, Harmony's voice. Today felt different. Today they would meet another new species. Ambassador, we are receiving signals from the third planet, reported Commander Zelnara, her blue skin shimmering with excitement. The mathematical sequences are perfect. They understand our peaceful intentions. Kethavar's crystal structure hummed with satisfaction. The same pattern had repeated countless times before. A new species would send out radio waves into space. The Confederation would detect them and respond with universal symbols of peace and friendship. Mathematics never lied, and neither did good intentions. Excellent, Kethvar said, his voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Bring us closer to their system. Let us see what these humans have to offer the galaxy. The ship moved through space with silent grace. Around them, 6 other species worked together as they had for centuries. The tall plant-like Verdani tended to the ship's living systems. The small, quick Nexari managed communications with their incredible speed. The massive Gorvani provided strength when needed, while the energy beings called Luxari powered the ship's most advanced systems. The aquatic Thalans handled navigation through their understanding of cosmic currents, and the wise Eternari, oldest of all species, provided guidance with their ancient knowledge. All of them were peaceful. All of them had joined the Confederation after first contact went smoothly. Kethavar expected nothing different from humanity. The human solar system appeared on their screens. 8 planets orbited a yellow star. The third planet was blue and green, covered in water and continents. It looked beautiful and welcoming. They call it Earth, reported the Nexari communications officer, her words coming faster than most species could follow. The humans live on the big pieces of land and have spread across most of their world. Their technology is impressive for such a young species. A new voice came through the ship's speakers. It was warm and friendly, speaking in careful, slow words that the translation system easily understood. Welcome to the Sol system, friends from the stars. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, speaking from Research Station New Horizon. We are honored by your visit and hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples. Kethvar felt his crystal body warm with happiness. The human voice carried no fear, no anger, no hidden threats, just curiosity and hope. Dr. Chen, Kethvar replied, I am Ambassador Kethvar of the Zephyrian Confederation. We bring greetings from 7 worlds and countless friends among the stars. May this meeting bring peace and understanding to both our peoples. The next few hours passed like a wonderful dream. The humans sent images of their world, their cities, their art. They showed pictures of themselves. Tall beings with smooth skin, walking on 2 legs with eyes that sparkled with intelligence. They had built great cities and created beautiful music. Their paintings and sculptures showed deep emotion and creativity. Dr. Chen appeared on the main screen. She was a middle-aged human with kind eyes and graying hair. Next to her stood Captain Marcus Webb, a tall man in a simple blue uniform. Both humans smiled warmly. We have dreamed of this day for so long, Dr. Chen said. To know we are not alone in the universe fills our hearts with joy. We have so much to learn from each other. Captain Webb nodded. Our people have always looked to the stars and wondered who might be out there. Finding friends instead of enemies is more than we could have hoped for. Kethvar was charmed by their honesty. Tell us about your world, your people. What do humans value most? Dr. Chen's eyes lit up. We value knowledge, creativity, and the bonds between people. We love to explore, to create, to understand the universe around us. We believe that working together makes us stronger than standing alone. The humans shared their music, and it was unlike anything the Confederation had heard before. Where other species created harmony through mathematics or nature sounds, human music carried raw emotion. It could make listeners feel happy, sad, excited, or peaceful. The Confederation members found themselves deeply moved by simple human songs. They shared their literature too. Stories of heroes and adventures, of love and loss, of dreams and hopes. Human imagination seemed endless. They created tales of distant worlds and fantastic creatures, all while their own world was still their only home. Remarkable, whispered the Eternari elder who observed from the background. Such creativity from such a young species. They will bring much to the Confederation. The humans showed their scientific achievements as well. They had learned to heal diseases, to feed billions of people, to communicate across their entire world instantly. Their computers were simple compared to Confederation technology, but clever and well-designed. "We would be honored to share our knowledge," Captain Webb said. "Perhaps our different approaches to solving problems could help us all learn new things." As the day continued, Kethvar found himself genuinely liking these humans. They were curious about everything. Dr. Chen asked hundreds of questions about the different species in the Confederation, about their worlds, their cultures, their histories. She wanted to understand not just their technology, but their hearts and minds. "How did you all come together?" she asked. 7 different species all living in peace? It seems almost too good to be true. "It is the natural way," Kethvar explained. "When intelligent species meet, they choose cooperation over conflict. Why fight when you can learn? Why destroy when you can build together? Every species we have met has seen the wisdom of peace." Dr. Chen and Captain Webb exchanged a quick look that Kethvar did not quite understand. There was something in their expressions, a shadow of some knowledge they did not share, but it passed quickly, replaced by their warm smiles. "That is a beautiful philosophy," Dr. Chen said. "We hope to live up to such wisdom." The first day of contact ended with plans for the future. The Confederation would establish a small embassy on Earth's moon. Human representatives would visit Confederation space. They would exchange knowledge, art, and friendship. Everything was going perfectly. As the Harmony's voice settled into orbit around Earth's moon, Kethvar felt the deep satisfaction of another successful first contact. The humans seemed perfect for the Confederation. They were intelligent, creative, peaceful, and eager to learn. Commander Zelnara approached him as he gazed down at the blue and green world below. "Another smooth beginning, Ambassador." The humans seemed delightful. "Indeed," Kethvar agreed. "They will make excellent members of our peaceful alliance. I look forward to learning more about their fascinating culture." Neither of them noticed the strange readings their sensors were picking up from the dark side of Earth's moon. Neither of them wondered why some areas of the human solar system seemed to be off limits to visitors. Neither of them questioned why they had only met scientists and diplomats, never anyone from what humans called their government. The Confederation had found peace among the stars for 3 centuries. They expected nothing different from humanity. After all, what intelligent species would choose war when they could have friendship instead? 3 months had passed since first contact, and the friendship between humans and the Confederation grew stronger each day. Ambassador Kethvar had moved into the new embassy on Earth's moon, a beautiful crystal structure that caught sunlight and turned it into rainbow patterns across the lunar surface. Dr. Sarah Chen visited almost every day. She had become more than just a contact between species. She was a true friend. Kethvar had never experienced anything quite like human friendship before. Other species in the Confederation were kind and cooperative, but humans seemed to put their whole hearts into relationships. "Look at this," Dr. Chen said, showing Kethvar a small device that projected images into the air. "We call it a holographic photo album. These are pictures of my family back on Earth." The images showed Dr. Chen with other humans of various ages. There was an older man with white hair who smiled just like her, a younger woman holding a small human child, and several others gathered around a table covered with food. "Family is very important to humans," Dr. Chen explained. "We form deep bonds with those we love. It makes us feel connected, gives us strength when times are hard." Kethavar's crystal body hummed with interest. The Confederation values cooperation and peace, but this human concept of family seems deeper, more personal. "It is," Dr. Chen agreed. "We love our whole species, but we love our families most of all. It teaches us how to care for others." Such conversations happened daily now. Human visitors came to the moon base regularly, sharing their culture and learning about the Confederation. The exchanges were going better than anyone had hoped. Trade agreements were already being planned. Humans had developed amazing ways to grow food even in harsh conditions. Their agricultural techniques could help feed hungry populations on several Confederation worlds. In return, the Confederation shared clean energy technology that could power human cities without harming their environment. Captain Marcus Webb had also become a regular visitor. He was different from Dr. Chen, more careful with his words, always watching and listening. But he was friendly and seemed genuinely interested in peace between their peoples. "Your worlds must be amazing," Captain Webb said during one visit, looking at star charts with Kethvar. So many different species all living together without conflict. How do you handle disagreements? We talk, Kethvar replied simply. We share our thoughts and find solutions that work for everyone. Violence is never necessary when intelligent beings choose to understand each other. Captain Webb nodded, but again, Kethvar saw that strange expression cross the human's face. A shadow of something hidden, something not shared. That must take great wisdom, Captain Webb said, and great patience. Both can be learned, Kethvar assured him. Your people seem to have both qualities already. The Confederation was preparing formal membership documents for humanity. It would take another few months to complete all the paperwork and ceremonies, but everyone expected it to be just a formality. Humans fit perfectly into their peaceful alliance, however. Some members of the Confederation were beginning to ask questions. Commander Zelnara brought her concerns to Kethvar one evening as they watched Earth turn slowly below them. Ambassador, I have been studying human culture more deeply. Some things worry me. What concerns you? Kethvar asked. Their historical records. Humans call them documentaries and history books. They show a very different picture of humanity than what we see now. Kethvar's crystals dimmed slightly. All species have difficult pasts, Commander. That is why the Confederation exists, to help everyone move beyond primitive behaviors. But Ambassador, these records show conflicts that lasted for years. Entire wars between groups of humans, weapons designed only to kill other humans. Some of these conflicts happened very recently. How recently? 20 of their years ago, they were still fighting each other. That is almost nothing in galactic terms. Kethvar considered this information. 20 years was indeed very recent. Most species in the Confederation had been peaceful for centuries before they reached space. Have you asked Dr. Chen about this? He wondered. I tried. She says humanity has grown beyond those days and learned from past mistakes. But when I ask for details about their current government, or how they prevent conflicts now, she changes the subject. This was troubling news. But Kethvar did not want to jump to conclusions. Perhaps they are simply embarrassed by their past. Many species prefer not to discuss their primitive periods. Perhaps, Commander Zelnara agreed, but she did not sound convinced. More concerns arose when the Confederation's military analysts studied human technology. The humans shared their civilian advances freely. Medical equipment, computers, energy systems, farming tools. But they never mentioned anything about defense or security. Every species has some form of protection, reported General Torvak, the massive Gorvani who led Confederation defense forces. But humans seem to have no military technology at all. How do they protect themselves from natural disasters or accidents in space? Maybe they have simply never needed protection, suggested Kethvar. Their system seems very peaceful. Or maybe they are not showing us everything, General Torvak rumbled, his rocky skin shifting with concern. Despite these worries, most Confederation members remained excited about humanity. The cultural exchanges were amazing. Human art and music had spread to every Confederation world. Human literature was being translated into dozens of languages. Human cooking had become popular everywhere. They used spices and combinations that no other species had ever tried. Dr. Chen had even started teaching some humans the Confederation's common language, while she learned to speak with other species directly. Her natural talent for languages impressed everyone. Humans learn so quickly, the Nexari linguistics expert chirped with admiration. Dr. Chen can now speak with all 7 species without using translation devices. Most beings take years to learn even one other language. But it was during one of these language lessons that another strange moment occurred. Dr. Chen was practicing her Gorvani rock speech with General Torvak when the massive stone being accidentally used a military term instead of a civilian one. He quickly corrected himself, but Dr. Chen had understood both words perfectly. You have military language in your speech? She asked innocently. General Torvak looked embarrassed. All languages have old words that are no longer used much. From less peaceful times, of course, Dr. Chen agreed, but Kethvar noticed she filed the information away in her mind. Later, Captain Webb asked seemingly casual questions about Confederation defense systems, trade routes, and the locations of important military installations. When asked why he was curious about such things, he laughed and said it was just natural human curiosity about how their new friends organized themselves. But These questions made some Confederation members uncomfortable. They are gathering intelligence, whispered Commander Zelnara to Kethvar. These are not random questions. Captain Webb knows exactly what he is asking about. You may be right, Kethvar admitted. But intelligence gathering does not necessarily mean hostile intentions. Perhaps they simply want to understand how we protect ourselves so they can learn to do the same. Or perhaps they want to know our weaknesses. Kethvar's crystal body flickered with uncertainty. The humans seemed so peaceful, so friendly, so genuinely interested in cooperation. But there were these shadows, these small moments when something else showed through their diplomatic smiles. Dr. Chen interrupted his thoughts by arriving for their daily meeting. She carried a new device that projected three-dimensional maps of human space. I thought you might like to see more of our solar system, she said cheerfully. We have stations and outposts throughout the area. But as she showed him the maps, Kethvar noticed something odd. Certain areas were marked as restricted or off-limits to civilian traffic. When he asked about these zones, Dr. Chen's expression became carefully neutral. Oh, those are just dangerous areas. Solar radiation, asteroid fields, that sort of thing. Nothing interesting. But her voice carried a tone Kethvar had never heard from her before. For the first time since they met, Dr. Sarah Chen was lying to him. And if she was lying about empty space, what else might humans be hiding? The crisis began with a simple mistake. Captain Yexlar was conducting a routine patrol in the outer reaches of the human solar system when his ship's navigation computer detected an unusual energy, reading near the planet humans called Jupiter. The massive world spun slowly in space, its colorful bands of gas creating beautiful patterns across its surface. Science Officer Miratha, Captain Yexlar called to his Verdani companion, whose plant-like form swayed gently as she studied her instruments. Are you detecting those energy fluctuations near the gas giant? Yes, Captain, Miratha replied, her voice like rustling leaves. The readings are unlike anything in our databases. It could be a new type of natural phenomenon. The Confederation Science Council would be very interested. Captain Yexlar made his decision quickly. A new discovery would benefit everyone in the Confederation, and the humans had seemed happy to share scientific knowledge. He directed his small patrol ship toward Jupiter to investigate. They had barely entered what humans called the Jupiter system when everything went wrong. Red lights began flashing on every console. Warning signals screamed through the ship's speakers. A cold, mechanical voice spoke in perfect Confederation common language. Unknown vessel, you have entered restricted space. Change course immediately or face defensive action. Captain Yexlar's crystalline features darkened with confusion. Restricted space? But Dr. Chen said this area was open for scientific study. Before anyone could respond, the patrol ship was surrounded. Dozens of objects appeared on their sensors, moving with deadly precision. They were clearly artificial, clearly weapons, and clearly pointed at the Confederation vessel. What are those things? Whispered Engineer Boknal, the young Nexari whose small hands flew across his control panel with nervous speed. Defense satellites, Miratha said grimly, studying the readings. Automated weapons platforms, very advanced ones. Captain Yexlar tried to establish communication. This is Captain Yexlar of the Confederation patrol ship Gentle Current. We mean no harm. We are investigating scientific phenomena for peaceful purposes. The mechanical voice responded immediately. You are in violation of Terran Defense Perimeter 7. State your authorization codes or prepare to be detained. Terran Defense? Captain Yexlar repeated. What is Terran Defense? We have been dealing with human scientists and diplomats. No one mentioned any military organizations. But before the satellites could respond, disaster struck. Jupiter's intense radiation field, far stronger than anything in Confederation space, began interfering with their ship's engines. The Gentle Current had been designed for peaceful exploration, not for the harsh environment around gas giants. Captain, Engineer Bacchanal reported, his voice high with panic. The radiation is overloading our power systems. We're losing engine control. The ship began to drift helplessly toward Jupiter's massive gravity well. On their screens, the automated defense satellites moved closer, their weapons charging with energy that made the patrol ship's sensors scream warnings. Emergency signal to Confederation Command. Captain Yexlar ordered. Tell them we are in distress in human space. But even as Bacchanal sent the signal, more human voices began speaking on communication channels. These were not the warm, friendly voices of Dr. Chen and Captain Webb. These voices were cold, professional, and carried the unmistakable tone of military authority. Terran Defense Control to unknown vessel. You are drifting into a hazardous gravity field. Prepare to be taken in tow. Thank you, Captain Yexelar replied with relief. We appreciate your assistance. Do not mistake assistance for friendship, the voice replied bluntly. You will be escorted to a secure facility for questioning about your violation of restricted space. On Earth's moon, Ambassador Kethvar received the emergency signal and immediately contacted Dr. Chen. She arrived at the embassy within minutes, but her usual calm demeanor was gone. Her face was pale and her hands shook slightly. Ambassador, I'm so sorry, she said quickly. This is a misunderstanding. Your patrol ship accidentally entered a restricted military zone. Our defense systems responded automatically. Military zone? Kethvar's crystal body flashed with confused colors. Dr. Chen, you never mentioned that humans had military forces. We were told your people were peaceful. Dr. Chen's mouth opened and closed several times before she could speak. We are peaceful. But we maintain certain defensive capabilities, just in case. In case of what? The galaxy has been peaceful for centuries. Before Dr. Chen could answer, Captain Webb arrived. But this was not the friendly, casual Captain Webb that Kethvar knew. This man wore a different uniform, darker and more formal. His face was stern and his eyes were sharp and calculating. Ambassador Kethvar, Captain Webb said with a crisp nod. I apologize for the situation with your patrol ship. The matter is being handled by Terran Defense Command. Terran Defense Command, Kethvar repeated. Captain Webb, what is this organization? Why were we not told about it? Captain Webb and Dr. Chen exchanged a long look. Finally, Captain Webb sighed deeply. Because, Ambassador, you never asked about our military. You asked about our people, our culture, our science. You assumed we had no defense forces because we didn't volunteer the information. Kethvar felt a chill run through his crystal structure. Are you saying you deliberately hid your military from us? We didn't hide anything, Dr. Chen said quickly. We showed you the parts of humanity we thought you'd be most interested in, our peaceful achievements. But you do have military forces. Yes, Captain Webb admitted. We do. As if summoned by his words, something new appeared on the embassy's sensors. Something massive was moving from behind Earth's moon. Something that had been hidden there all along. What is that? Kethvar asked, staring at the readings in disbelief. Captain Webb's expression became carefully neutral. That would be Admiral Vasquez. She's coming to personally resolve the situation with your patrol ship. Admiral? Kethvar's voice rose an octave. You have military ranks? You have admirals? On the screen, the massive object began to take shape as it moved into view. It was a ship, but unlike any vessel the Confederation had ever seen. Where Confederation ships were smooth and elegant, this was angular and aggressive. Where their ships spoke of peace and exploration, this spoke of war and conquest. It was easily 5 times the size of the largest Confederation vessel, bristling with weapon systems and armored plating. Its very design was a threat, a statement that whoever built it understood violence on a scale the peaceful Confederation could not imagine. What is that thing? Kethvar whispered. Captain Webb stood straighter, and for a moment pride flickered in his eyes. That's the TSDF Retribution, Terran Space Defense Force flagship. Dr. Chen put her hand on Kethvar's crystal arm. Ambassador, please understand. We really do want peace. But humanity learned long ago that sometimes peace must be protected. Protected from what? Kethvar demanded. The galaxy is peaceful. The galaxy is peaceful now, Captain Webb corrected quietly. But we've learned that peace is fragile. And we've learned that the best way to keep peace is to be prepared for war. On the communication channel, a new voice spoke. This one was female, calm, and carried an authority that made even Captain Webb straighten to attention. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Terran Space Defense Force. I am taking command of this situation. Ambassador Kethvar, your patrol ship is safe and will be returned to you shortly. However, I believe it's time we had a more complete conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy. Kethvar stared at the massive warship on his screen and realized that everything had changed. The friendly, peaceful humans he thought he knew were still there. But they were only part of a much larger, much more complex picture. And for the first time in 3 centuries of peaceful first contact, the Confederation had met a species that might be more powerful than they were. Admiral Elena Vasquez materialized on the embassy's main screen, and Kethavar understood immediately why Captain Webb had straightened to attention. This human radiated authority like heat from a star. Her gray hair was pulled back severely, her uniform was perfect, and her dark eyes missed nothing. "Ambassador Kethavar," she said, her voice carrying the weight of absolute command. "I apologize for the dramatic introduction. Your patrol ship captain and crew are unharmed and will be returned within the hour." "Admiral," Kethavar replied, trying to keep his voice steady, "I must ask directly, how many military vessels like yours does humanity possess?" Admiral Vasquez smiled, but it was not a warm expression. "That depends, Ambassador, on whether you're asking as a friend or as a potential threat assessment." The bluntness of her words sent shockwaves through Kethavar's crystal structure. No species in the Confederation had ever spoken to another with such direct reference to military capabilities. Dr. Chen stepped forward quickly. "Admiral, Ambassador Kethavar has been our friend for months. Surely we can speak openly with him." "Dr. Chen," Admiral Vasquez replied without taking her eyes off Kethavar, "friendship and security are different matters. The Ambassador's patrol ship just proved that your open diplomacy has some gaps in it." Captain Webb cleared his throat. "Admiral, perhaps we should explain humanity's defensive philosophy to the Ambassador." "Yes," Admiral Vasquez agreed. "Perhaps we should." She touched a control and new images filled the screen. Ships began appearing, dozens, then hundreds of them. All were built like the Retribution, angular and aggressive, bristling with weapons that the Confederation's peaceful vessels had no equivalent for. "This is the Terran Space Defense Force," Admiral Vasquez said calmly, currently numbering 1,237 active vessels, from small patrol craft to ships larger than the Retribution. "We have defense installations throughout human space, automated systems that respond to threats, and rapid response capabilities that can reach any point in our territory within hours." Kethavar's crystal body flickered with disbelief. 1,000 ships? Ambassador, that is larger than the combined peacekeeping forces of all 7 Confederation worlds. Peacekeeping forces, Admiral Vasquez repeated thoughtfully, an interesting term. What exactly do they keep peace from, Ambassador? From accidents, natural disasters, the occasional dispute between colonies. But not from other species? Other species are peaceful. Why would we need protection from them? Admiral Vasquez leaned back in her chair, studying Kethavar with intense interest. "Tell me, Ambassador, in your 300 years of expansion, have you never encountered a species that chose conflict over cooperation?" "Never," Kethavar replied proudly. "Every intelligent species we have met has seen the wisdom of peace." "Remarkable," Admiral Vasquez said, and her tone suggested she found it remarkable for all the wrong reasons. "Dr. Chen, please show the Ambassador humanity's historical records. The complete records this time." Dr. Chen looked uncomfortable. "Admiral, perhaps that's not necessary." "It is absolutely necessary," Admiral Vasquez cut her off sharply. "If the Confederation is to understand humanity, they need to see all of humanity." New images appeared on the screen. These were not the peaceful, artistic humans that Kethavar had grown to know. These were scenes of conflict, of destruction, of humans fighting other humans with weapons that could level cities and burn continents. "This is human history," Admiral Vasquez explained as the terrible images continued. 6,000 years of almost constant warfare. Weapons that could split atoms and poison entire worlds. Conflicts that killed millions at a time. Wars that lasted for generations. Kethavar watched in growing horror. But this is primitive behavior. Surely these are ancient records. The most recent major conflict ended 22 years ago, Admiral Vasquez replied. "The weapons you see there are still in our arsenals, though we have developed far more effective ones since then." 22 years? Kethavar's voice was barely a whisper. "But you seem so peaceful, so civilized." "We are peaceful," Dr. Chen said earnestly. "We choose peace, Ambassador. But we choose it because we know the alternative intimately." Admiral Vasquez nodded approvingly. "Dr. Chen is correct. Humanity didn't evolve into a peaceful species, Ambassador. We learned to be peaceful through the hard experience of war. We know what conflict costs, and we've decided it costs too much. But the weapons, the ships, the military forces, our insurance," Admiral Vasquez finished. "We hope never to use them, but we will not be defenseless again." Captain Webb stepped forward. "Ambassador, may I ask you something? In all your centuries of peaceful contact, What would you do if you met a species that refused your offers of friendship? A species that wanted to take your worlds, enslave your people, destroy your culture? Kethavar's crystal structure dimmed as he considered the question. We would try to understand them. Find common ground, negotiate. And if they refuse to negotiate? If they attacked your worlds anyway? That has never happened. It would never happen. Intelligent species don't act that way. Admiral Vasquez leaned forward. Ambassador, with respect, intelligent species act exactly that way. Humanity is proof of it. We were intelligent when we were conquering each other's territories and building weapons to destroy entire planets. Intelligence doesn't automatically create morality. The truth of her words hit Kethavar like a physical blow. For 3 centuries, the Confederation had assumed that any species smart enough to reach space would automatically be peaceful. They had never considered that intelligence and aggression might coexist. So you maintain this military force because you expect to meet hostile species? Kethavar asked. We maintain this military force because we refuse to be victims. Admiral Vasquez corrected. If we meet peaceful species like yourselves, wonderful. We'll be friends and allies. But if we meet species that view our peaceful nature as weakness, she didn't need to finish the sentence. The implications hung in the air like a threat. Dr. Chen moved closer to Kethavar. Ambassador, please understand. Nothing has changed about our desire for friendship with the Confederation. We still want peace, cooperation, cultural exchange, everything we've discussed. But now we know you could destroy us if you chose to, Kethavar said quietly. Yes, Admiral Vasquez replied with brutal honesty. Just as we know you could try to destroy us if you chose to. The difference is that we're prepared for that possibility. We would never, and we believe you, Dr. Chen said quickly. We've spent months getting to know your people, your culture, your values. We trust you, but trust doesn't mean we're careless. Admiral Vasquez touched another control, and the screen showed a different image. A star map of known space, with both human and Confederation territories marked. Here's what I propose, Ambassador, she said. Complete honesty between our peoples. You know about our military capabilities now. We'd like to know about yours. Our military capabilities? Kethavar repeated. We have peacekeeping forces for emergencies, as I said. Ships, weapons, defensive installations, rapid response capabilities. Admiral Vasquez listed. How do you protect your worlds and your people? As Kethavar began to describe the Confederation's modest defensive arrangements, he realized how tiny and inadequate they sounded compared to humanity's vast war machine. The Confederation had a few dozen patrol ships, some orbital platforms around important worlds, and emergency response teams for natural disasters. They had never needed more because they had never faced a real threat. Admiral Vasquez listened without expression, then nodded. Thank you for your honesty, Ambassador. Now shall we discuss what this means for our continued relationship? What do you mean? Kethavar asked. Simple, Admiral Vasquez replied. Humanity wants to join the Confederation. We want peace, friendship, and cooperation with your people. But we're not going to pretend to be helpless sheep when we're actually wolves who've chosen to be vegetarians. Dr. Chen smiled at the strange comparison. What the Admiral means is that we want to be your friends and allies, but as equals who happen to be very good at protecting ourselves and our friends. The question, Admiral Vasquez concluded, is whether the Confederation can accept humanity as we really are, peaceful by choice, not by nature. Kethavar stared at the massive warship on his screen and realized that the galaxy had just become a much more complicated place. The emergency session of the Confederation Council had been going for 6 hours, and Kethavar could feel the tension crackling through subspace communications from 7 different worlds. Representatives of all member species argued, debated, and struggled with a problem they had never faced before. The humans lied to us, declared Elder Mortai of the Eternari, his ancient voice heavy with disappointment. They presented themselves as peaceful while hiding the largest military force the galaxy has ever seen. Did they lie, or did we simply not ask the right questions? Countered scientist Velara of the Nexari, her words coming in rapid bursts. They showed us their culture, their art, their science. We never asked about their military because we assumed they didn't have one. General Torvak's massive stone form shifted on the screen as he spoke. The question is not what they did or didn't tell us. The question is what we do now. These humans have more firepower than our entire Confederation combined. Kethavar watched his friends and colleagues struggle with concepts that had never been necessary before. For 3 centuries, the Confederation had grown through peaceful expansion, always meeting species that wanted cooperation over conflict. Humanity had shattered that comfortable pattern. Ambassador Kethvar, called Speaker Wispeth of the Thalans, her aquatic form floating in a tank of water. You have spent the most time with these humans. What is your assessment of their intentions? Kethvar's crystal body dimmed as he considered his words carefully. I believe they genuinely want peace. Dr. Chen, Captain Webb, even Admiral Vasquez, they all seem sincere in their desire for friendship and cooperation. But, prompted Elder Mortai, but they also seem genuinely prepared for war, not eager for it, not looking for excuses to fight, but absolutely ready if fighting becomes necessary. Commander Zelnara, attending the meeting from the moon base, added her observations. I have been monitoring human communication since the revelation. Their military forces are not standing down or backing away. If anything, they seem to be quietly taking defensive positions throughout their space. Are they preparing to attack us? Asked General Torvak. No, Kethvar replied immediately. I don't believe so, but I think they are preparing for the possibility that we might attack them. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans were not just hiding their military capabilities, they were actively defending against the possibility that their new friends might become enemies. Director Zephnol of the Verdani spoke next, his plant-like form swaying gently. Perhaps the question we should ask is not whether we can trust the humans, but whether they can trust us. What do you mean? Asked several voices at once. Think about it from their perspective, Director Zephnol continued. They are one species facing an alliance of 7. They know we vastly outnumber them in population and territory. From their point of view, showing military weakness could be an invitation for us to conquer them. Elder Mortai's ancient features creased with confusion. But conquest is not our way. We would never— They don't know that for certain, Kethvar realized suddenly. To them, we're aliens who appeared out of nowhere, claimed to be peaceful, and immediately began studying their defenses and asking about joining our alliance. If I were human, I might be suspicious too. The debate continued for hours, but gradually a consensus began to emerge. The Confederation faced a choice that would define their future: reject humanity because of their military power, or accept them as partners despite it. Finally, Speaker Wispeth called for order. We must vote. The question before us is simple. Do we continue the process of welcoming humanity into the Confederation, knowing what we now know about their capabilities? Before anyone could answer, Commander Zelnara interrupted. Forgive me, Speaker, but we have an incoming priority communication from Admiral Vasquez. The human admiral appeared on their screens, her expression serious but not hostile. Members of the Confederation Council, I apologize for interrupting your deliberations. However, I believe there is something you need to know before you make your decision. What is it, Admiral? Kethvar asked. 3 hours ago, our long-range sensors detected ships approaching the edge of Confederation space. Unknown design, unknown technology, and they are not responding to communication attempts. A chill ran through the assembled representatives. In 3 centuries, the Confederation had never encountered a species that refused to communicate. Admiral Vasquez continued. The ships appear to be studying your outer colonies, possibly looking for weaknesses. Their behavior pattern suggests military reconnaissance. General Torvak leaned forward. How many ships? Our estimates suggest at least 50 vessels, possibly more. They're much more advanced than anything in our databases, including our own technology. The council chamber erupted in concerned voices, but Admiral Vasquez raised her hand for silence. I'm sharing this information because humanity has a proposal. We would like to dispatch a joint task force to investigate these unknown ships. Confederation vessels for communication and diplomacy. Human vessels for protection if things go badly. Elder Mortai spoke first. You would help defend us, even though we are not yet allies? Elder, we may not be formal allies yet, but we've spent months becoming friends. Friends help each other when trouble appears. Kethvar felt his crystal structure warm with emotion. Despite everything, the hidden military, the shocking revelations, the fears and suspicions, the humans were offering to protect the Confederation from an unknown threat. There's something else, Admiral Vasquez added. Our military analysts believe these unknown ships have been watching human space as well. They may be studying both our civilizations. A potential threat to all of us, scientist Valara observed. How very interesting, Admiral Vasquez nodded. Which brings me to humanity's formal proposal to the Confederation. We don't just want to join your alliance as another member species. We want to be your shield. Our shield? Speaker Wispeth asked. The galaxy may not be as peaceful as you've experienced. You've had 3 centuries of meeting friendly species because you've been lucky, or because hostile species hadn't found you yet. But if there are aggressive civilizations out there, what in these unknown ships suggest there might be, and then you need someone who understands warfare to stand between them and your peaceful worlds. Dr. Chen appeared beside Admiral Vasquez on the screen. What we're proposing is a new kind of partnership. The Confederation continues to handle diplomacy, science, culture, and peaceful expansion. Humanity handles security and defense. We become the sword that protects the peaceful garden you've built. The Council sat in stunned silence. The humans weren't just asking to join the Confederation. They were offering to become its protectors. Elder Mortai spoke slowly. You would take on the burden of defending our worlds, our people, our way of life? Not a burden, Admiral Vasquez corrected. A privilege. The Confederation represents something beautiful, proof that intelligent species can choose cooperation over conflict. That's worth protecting, General Torvak rumbled thoughtfully. But if we accept this arrangement, what becomes of us? Do we simply hide behind human shields while you face all dangers? No, Dr. Chen replied. You become what you've always been, teachers. You show the galaxy that peace is possible. You demonstrate that different species can work together. You prove that there's an alternative to endless conflict. Kethavar found himself speaking before he realized it. And if humanity ever becomes the aggressor? If your military power corrupts you? Admiral Vasquez smiled grimly. Then the Confederation withdraws their friendship and we become what we've always feared most, alone in a hostile universe. Trust me, Ambassador, losing your friendship would be a deterrent more powerful than any weapon. The vote, when it came, was unanimous. The Confederation would accept humanity not just as members but as protectors. In return, humanity would gain access to Confederation science, culture, and the friendship of 7 different species. As the meeting ended and preparations began for the joint mission to investigate the unknown ships, Kethavar remained on the screen with Admiral Vasquez and Dr. Chen. Admiral, he said quietly, there's something I need to know. How long have you been preparing for this moment? Admiral Vasquez and Dr. Chen exchanged a look. Finally, the Admiral answered, Since the day we detected your first signals, Ambassador. We hoped for friendship, but we prepared for war. That's the human way. Expect the best, but be ready for the worst. And the unknown ships? We've been tracking them for weeks. They're why we revealed our capabilities now, instead of waiting longer. The galaxy just became a more dangerous place, and dangerous times require honest allies. Dr. Chen smiled warmly. But we meant everything we said about wanting friendship and peace. That hasn't changed? No, Admiral Vasquez agreed. It just has a better chance of lasting now. As the massive human warship moved to take position alongside Confederation vessels for their first joint mission, Kethavar reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy was no longer the safe, peaceful place he had known for 3 centuries. But somehow, with humanity standing guard, it felt safer than ever before. The humans had kept their promise. They had chosen peace. They had just made sure that peace could choose to defend itself.